Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to One Breath Rising's second Sunday series. We are so glad to have all of you join us this afternoon. It's a little brisky and a little cloudy here in New York, so I hope the weather's a little better where you are. And I hope that you really enjoy today's feature that we have. But before we introduce the feature, I want to thank our sponsors. Our thanks goes to the Brooklyn Arts Council, Poets and Writers, the Park Slope Civic Council, the 440 Art Gallery, the Garner Glazer Foundation, our individual donors, and you, our audience. And we really want to thank you for making this programming possible. This afternoon, we are ecstatic to present a poet that I have known for a very long time, Linda Susan Jackson. And I'm going to read her very modest bio. Linda Susan Jackson is the author of Truth Be Told, Four Ways Press, and What Yellow Sounds Like, Chucha Press, which was a finalist for the National Poetry Series and the Paterson Prize. She has also written two chap's books, A History of Beauty and Vitelline Blues, both published by Black Eyed Susan Publishing. She has received fellowships from Cave Canem Foundation, the New York Foundation for the Arts, Calabash International Literary Festival, Soul Mountain Writers Retreat, and Frost Place. Her work has appeared in Ploughshares, Harvard Review Online, Brilliant Corners, Obsidian, among others, and has been featured on the Academy of American Poets and Poetry Poem a Day series, the Poets on Poetry series, and on From the Fishouse audio archive. She is a retired associate professor of English from Medgar Evers College, CUNY, New York. So please join me in welcoming the fabulous, fabulous poet, Linda Susan Jackson.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'd like to begin by thanking you, EJ, and everyone at One Breath Rising for inviting me to share my work today. I'd also like to thank Four Way Books. I don't know why I always call them Four Way Press, but they're actually Four Way Books. So excuse me for that. For the care and attention that they took in bringing my work forward. So I'll be reading from this book, Truth Be Told, which was just recently published. This book is a meditation on girlhood and womanhood. And it's divided into 4 sections. 2 sections of the book are in the voice of 12-year-old girls who were born of mythic imaginations. The first is Pecola Breedlove, who is the protagonist in the first novel by Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye. And the other young girl is Persephone, who comes to us by way of Greek mythology. She's the abducted daughter of 2 gods, Zeus and Demeter. The other 2 sections are in the voices of women who narrate their experiences, and they're truth tellers. And, excuse me, these women refused to live in the second or third class existence that was assigned to them, and they forged their own lives. But before I read any of the poems, I want to read a section from the acknowledgments page and dedicate this reading to my maternal ancestors who send the light. Mother, Lily Mae Monroe, born 1931. Grandmother, Jessie St. Clair Royster, born 1915. Great-grandmother, Lily Mae Gordon, born 1894. Great-grandmother, Minnie Weathersby, born 1880. Second great-grandmother, Mary Portis, born 1845. Third great grandmother, Jackie Morgan, born 1820. Fourth great grandmother, Disa Morgan, born 239 years ago, 1785. I am just so blessed to have their names going back so far. So I'm going to open by reading the poem that's in the prologue section. And just as a cartographer maps out a geographical area, this poem maps out the geography of the perils, precarity, and promises of women's lives and sets the tone for the book. From here to there is a minefield fraught with a dangerous freedom. Step here, smell of menace. Step there, wearing hoods or heels. Here, year-old crimes and lotto tickets. There, slow singing and flower bringing. Here, sound of colors history. There, one woman becomes four. Here, words of a dreamer. There, calculus of nightmares. Step here, a familiar man's pup tent. Step there, baby formula on easy bake ovens. Here, rein in anything ready-made. There, monopoly of meanings. Here, ragwicked IED. There, T-shaped IUD. Here, Hamlet to dismal swamp. There, shadows with their own draw. Here, the past arranges its own past. There, oiled bodies spoon monotone. Here, tapping canes on the pavement. There, tragedy plus time is a drive-by. Here, the mother I longed for. There, the mother I had. Step here, light the fire. Step there, fire the cannon. So I'm going to read from part 1, which is in the voice of Pecola. Pecola's Juggernaut. Ugly is pretty generic. There's enough to go around. A name flung from the mirror I duck, but I hear what it says. Your living is complete defiance. All of this was foretold in my history, shaped by storefront living in my latchkey world. My ugly is alive like a plague, bred on maternal distance and rage, on a father itching to run and drowning in drink. To be the ordinary, ugly daughter of a less than ordinary woman is an accident that could have crushed any girl, and probably has. Ugly is not my enemy. It's my private deity, demanding worship from a song that wets the wasteland my dry, shocked voice has become. A song that soars me off the ground into the bluest sky in my eye. Camera ready. And the epigraph reads, I am and shall continue to be the monster in your closet. Carol Walker. From the great disruptor of fairy tales, the story of me is inevitable. Bored with your damsels who live their lives under a knife or a needle, racked by thoughts of a future that consumes so much of a Black girl's life, already adultified. What language can remember me from before the funk of your fears lodged to discomfort? Who do I wait for? 3 Gorgons or the 3 whores? 3 Furies or the 3 degrees? 3 Peace women or the Mary Jane girls? Who knew eyes held my doom, slingshot from every gaze? Camera ready? I am Pecola Breedlove, still. Sunborn. And two things about this poem. One, it was inspired in part by Song of Songs from the Old Testament. And two, there's a reference to another character from The Bluest Eye. Her name is Maureen Peel, and she's the high yellow dream girl everyone loves. Sunborn. O she of sunborn blackness, whose story is the one we want to pass like the night. What does this explain except our hunger for a dozen Maureen Peels? Although, when we're done, we throw them on the heap of overhandled things, using what's left of their skin to pass on the story. Our hunger still a fire as we go on with our usual business. It's Pacola's story we want to get past, a past that's the mirror of our present, and to be rescued from watching her slow retreat into madness. She's just 12 years old, standing by herself, without a weapon to wage war, without a rage to sustain her, stepping out of an unwritten history into the underbelly of a girlhood, under the crush of colorism, where knowing her father's name is not enough. Viewmaster. Click. This old man, he played three. Without worry, she bounces on his trusted lap. He whispers. His breath in her ear is like candy on her tongue. A grope here, a paw there. Undercover, gutter delight. He played knick-knack on my knee. Two. Click. Here we go, Luby light. She gets carried away, rocked by ballad rhythms in her ear. Sheet pulled down, he blankets her, touches everywhere. Dream drifting, floating out there. One kiss, one finger, one pluck. All on a Saturday night. Three, click. You put your whole self out. His breath, his hands, hot, solid, and liquid. She sobs and drops from the sky. Her voice stalls while she's in free fall. That's what it's all about. Four, click. Miss Mary Mac, Mac, Mac. She strangles on her nightgown. Panties tie up her ankles. She can't even run in place. His voice begging, demanding, don't tell. No longer a lullaby. All dressed in black, black, black. Five, click. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Day after, her flesh is bereft, yet she breathes. If only she could fly. Zealie's on the shelf, so is Ramona. All that's past. No one's to know. How does your garden grow? So I'm going to move to the section in Persephone's voice. Excuse me. Enfleurage. How to smell like a flower without being plucked. Yona Harvey. I try but can't avoid flowers. They throw all their purity at me. Top notes lure me into plummy pools that evaporate quickly, leaving a smooth combination of fruit and floral, yielding to a final full body of fragrance typical during the dry down period of aromatic grass, wood, and musk's lasting impressions. It's near morning, and like jasmine and tuberose, I've been open all night. The dew dries, releasing soft, sweet scents scored as sin in my skin. Alive with volatile weather. This is not a crime yet, just the vanity of drooping flowers shouting spring. Somewhere between daffodil and narcissus, this could be you, too. This next poem takes its title from a Motown song made famous by Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. Nowhere to Run. Weekly, I go to the garden with my two best friends. We inhale its beauty, revel at its symmetry. I wander off with my music. My friends swoon to silky falsettos or toned down tenors. I prefer a front man who knows how to attack silence, craving a church-trained tenor like Eddie Levert, whose gruff-edged gospel tones fling me out of my body, or a preacher's son like Dennis Edwards, unafraid to plunge into gritty excess. I am so wrapped by the intensity of their pleas, by the certainty of a love rare as a rose in winter, I don't hear my friends call out. When the ground splits open, I mistake the rumble for a backbeat. Just like that, he snatches me up and out of the world of rhythm and ballads. He doesn't pretend to sing, hum, or recite a lyric. The only sounds in the bloom heavy air are the high-pitched neighs of his black stallions, heads aimed to burrow their way back to my dark realm. Persephone's theory. And the epigraph reads, you can't leave because your heart is there, but sure you can't stay because you've been somewhere else. Sly and the Family Stone. Quiet as it's kept, my mother and father are divinity, but they are also brother and sister. Wife and sister equals the same woman squared. This makes my father my uncle and my mother my aunt. Daughter and niece equals the same girl squared. At last count, I have 20 some odd sisters and brothers. Both my parents are players. So my siblings are like cling peaches in heavy syrup. All halves equal nothing whole squared. My father's brother is also my mother's brother. He kidnapped, raped, and married me. Niece and wife equals the same captive squared. With him, my children equal cousins and sisters, nieces and nephews squared. To my parents, his siblings, they equal grandchildren and grandnieces and grandnephews squared. So close, yet so far removed that the spread of light wobbles around the mass of branches on my family tree and can't square enough variables to equal who or what is relative. And the last poem from this section is made up of 5 haiku, each one using either the word whisper or blues. When Persephone has the blues. This is how she prays, alone at dusk, whispering mercy, then grows still. Weathered yellow lights stew down with her blues, burning wisteria's scent. With but a whisper, tears cut a hot path of lines, her face in fragments. A bird in the night flies her song through the darkness, tremolo in blues. Whisper the answer. Was she ruined before now or in the garden? And now I'm going to go to this other section. Okay, so this section is titled More Than Dry Long So, and it's dedicated to my great-grandmother, who I had the great good fortune to know for 35 years. It's my way of memorializing her and her distilled wisdom. So this section has 10 parts, and each part is subtitled with one of the expressions I grew up hearing her say. Each part contains the expression and a prose poem underneath it, which doesn't as much explain the meaning of the expression literally, but I hope opens a door for you. So this section is called More Than Dry Long So. First quote: New brooms sweep clean, but old brooms know the corners. In and out of paradise, it starts with a disturbance in the nourishing dark of sound that becomes a wail, then rises into words, into song, giving rhythm and story to living and loving. At least that's the plan, though it's so easy to go off in the wrong direction, to be in such a hurry you pour coffee in your purse and can't grasp the enormity of a rhetorical break. But you've been here before, following a crooked straw lined to where it angles and cleans the corners of others, and you do what you know. Stick with the evil you know. Everything she learned was picked up walking from tobacco country to the cobblestones of New York, carrying a Barlow in her purse. She later marries off her one son to a woman who carries a pistol in hers. They are outlaw women, wearing silk dresses and pearl button gloves, pretty women who dab lilac water behind an ear and a knee. They are dangerous and free. They know the sound of action is their voice, and volume, it's its value. Yet they whisper, evil be pretty sometimes, don't it? Buzzards don't circle in the air for nothing. The rest of them picked what was easy and flew off. But he's still circling. He's been at it a while, so she glimpsed the swoop and swirl of his fancy eights, caught the streaks of light from his diamond-encrusted talons, heard the swish and whistle of his wings, him crowing out that Nat King Cole favorite, Darling, je vous aime beaucoup, which left him just enough wind for his final dive to get a closer look and see if she's the wild game they talked about or just another piece of side meat. And the last from this section, a hat and a shoe don't make a pair. From a tangle of legends, she emerged. Barely 35, she'd already buried 3 husbands. He came out of the blue with no rules, a slab of Bushmills in his pocket, his cuff pants breaking just above the third eyelet of his spit-shined oxblood leather shoes. So their lives fold in on one another. They talk and laugh their way through clubs with fancy-sounding names like Paradis, Alcazar, Le Palais, their insides dark. 1,000 nights later, she'd given him almost everything and could only hear what was in front of her, him and his escape words. Honey, darling, look here, baby girl, I'll be right back. She should have read the signs earlier, since he belonged nowhere in particular, since he always kept his fedora, its crown creased like a teardrop, perched on the right knee of his crossed leg. And now I'll read a few poems from the 4th section. Girls to Women, for Sheila. An unlikely pair of high-toned girls meeting when we did. You, 13, with your brash language playing hooky, and me, 12, with a book under my arm. You already smoking on the sly, your hair dyed like one of Dinah's wigs, and me, shoulder-length twin braids in class. We in training bras, our calves shaped by double dutch and handball, longing for Smokey to build us a castle with his falsetto, for Ivan Dixon, black, dark, and handsome, in nothing but a man. Are we game for the men who dress like high stakes, leaning against a liquor store window, whispering, pig meat? Girls to women redux. We are now the age our mothers were when we thought they were old, becoming them despite ourselves, despite our need for a man's touch, no paladins or Galahads. Are we meeting again as though for the first time? This you worrying about crow's feet and double chins. This me worrying about the blackness of black and syntactical trots. This us worrying about the algebra of our broken parts. Threnody for Dinah Washington, 1924 to 1963. When she started out, she welcomed the road, moved as she was to be anybody but Ruth Lee Jones, game as she was to let go of Alabama and lives hemmed in by hemp, to live in a world teeming with every song she sang. On stage, stylized in satin, she's a veneer of calm. Her voice, clear as raw triumph, muscles colors from her throat. The best brights, halters, and halos, the darkest darks. She's drinking again. Her neck already ringed in sweat. Home was anywhere she was caught between gut bucket blues and blue gardenia. Though not even duets with Brooke Benton, hundreds of singles, 7, 8, or was it 9 husbands could blot out shotgun houses on cinder blocks, mossbacks in backwoods, or yard boys scared of trees. May 12th, 2009. Just as an aside, this was the last time I saw Etta James live at B.B. King's, and it's in the epistolary form. Dear Miss Etta James, with only the tap and growl of a flamenco guitar, you open with a lover is forever, and girl, you hollow out the room. Every booth, every table taken, folks stacked 4 and 5 deep at the bar. You know it all because you've done it all, and we take what you give. Over trombone, trumpet, and sax, piano, organ, and box. One son, Danto, on drums, your other son, Sameto, on bass guitar. You hit all the money notes, your rough edge wide and deep, even with a love song, you're face down in the gravel, talking shit on your way to the grit in the final song. There, a new blue, throaty and true. But you didn't listen, baby girl, when Billy said, don't let this happen to you. And you did. You did. And I'm going to close with this poem titled Nailing Things Down. Nailing things down may also kill them, but she had no great plans to live happily ever after. Today is all she could manage, that and the breathless sounds of Prez tamping down the day's anarchy. 20 years earlier, her voice left her, so she quit smoking. When it returned, it was vibrating like a dusty contralto. Today, she smells facts. The air thick with tomorrow's rain, a slow leak in the basement, the 5 shots of Jameson on his breath his undershirt brushed with someone else's perfume, a scent she'd worn in high school, Shalimar. 20 years ago, on a dime, she'd have cut or shot him to clear the air, but today is not that day. Today, she looks at her body with some hesitation. It's late in the morning, and the gravy's going to run thin tonight. Will she miss the wanting, the having, or the gone? That's it.
I don't know where the other people are. Everyone.
I'm still savoring that last line. I was like, ooh, wait a minute, let me think about that. Woo, that last line was it. I'm like, whoa.
What? Hi, Jackie.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, babe. How are you?
All right. Thanks for a great reading.
Thank you.
Yes, that was beautiful. Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So,
Joe?
hi. We're going to go into a little Q&A session. Everybody that's on, feel free to jump in. I usually start off and then we'd like to have a nice lively discussion. And actually, Linda, this book gives me a lot of discussion here because
Oh boy.
it is covering so many themes of one, what a lot of children in the world actually go through.
Mm.
And it also hits on the thing of, one year I was 25 and now I'm, and you're like, well, when did that happen? And in all of this thing, as time is moving on, you have this constant struggle. You're always fighting this hardness of a life filled with challenges that you have to navigate every day. And I mean, and really, the book is put together beautifully. It's a really beautiful book. I really like the way you did the 10 prose poems, mm-hmm. and where they're situated in the middle of almost in the middle of the book. So I'm going to ask you, what was your inspiration for writing this book? Outside of the blues, because I know I hear a lot of blues going on in here.
Well, let me see. Okay, so we have to go back in time.
Okay.
I read The Bluest Eye in 1970. I think that's when it first came out, 70, 71. And Pecola, her story just shook me. At once, she was like someone I knew, but then someone I didn't know, someone I'd never read about, let me put it that way. And she haunted me through the years. When I started teaching, I started using her book a lot with my students because I had a lot of female Black students, who had not read anything about themselves up to that point. So that was one thing. And no matter how many times I tried to move away from that book, I just couldn't. Every time I turned around, she was just there haunting me. So when I started writing, I said, I got to do something with her. I just can't leave her like that. Toni Morrison comes to me in a dream and says, I left space for you to sing her song. Now, you talk about a drop the mic moment. It's like, okay, I got to do something with this. At the same time, I was very into Greek mythology, and the story of Persephone always haunted me. And I kept thinking, why hasn't anyone written about the fact that Hades, who kidnapped her, was her uncle? That thing just bothered me. So then one day I was in the shower and they started talking to each other, Pecola and Persephone, about their experiences. So that is really the root of the book.
Interesting.
Rather circuitous route, but I couldn't get those two girls out of my mind.
So this book has been years in the making.
Yes, yes. Well, like most things, they percolate and you don't know what you're going to do with them.
Do with it. Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. And then all of a sudden one day you get that last link and you go, there it is. There's that link. There's the
Exactly.
I can write this now.
Well, it was a struggle because trying to step into their voices, that's the difficult thing. As you well know with persona poems, it's difficult.
Yes, it is. It is. I love the way you used view matter.
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved it because your camera ready and view matter, because I've done the photography. I've taken classes. I've actually photographed people, and there is so much of you are always moving toward that camera ready moment, and you're well, back in the day anyway, you actually were hearing, because when I used to take classes, we would do something where we would burn a roll of film, which means we would take a whole roll of 36 in like 15 minutes. So you constantly hear the clicking, constantly heard the clicking of the film going to the next frame, going to the next frame, going to the next frame as you're taking the pictures. And all in the pursuit of catching that one camera ready moment. You know, and I love the way that you use that metaphor of the camera in the setting up of how the girls are perceived, how they're being pushed into this lifestyle, always in search of that camera ready moment. So I really enjoyed that, how that really worked together. And you also did a wonderful job in the next one you read was En Fleurage.
En Fleurage.
Yeah. There was so much blending of nature into this whole act of their everyday existence. A lot of nature. How did you, well, I guess, how did you put the book together? Because there are a lot of different influences coming through, but they do seem to flow seamlessly through the book. But I know that it probably was not an easy task in putting it together. So let's talk a little bit about that.
It wasn't easy is right. That's an understatement, as you well know. But I don't know. I don't write with a book in mind. I write individual poems. So the fact that it all came together after all these years was as much a surprise to me as anything. And it's organic. I mean, I don't say, oh, here's a poem and I'm going to put it with this and this is going to be matched with this. This poem, you know, I'm just writing. And then when I actually started looking, I said, well, wait a minute now. I got a lot of poems here. Let me see if they're talking to one another, if they're saying anything. The only two sections that I knew were going to come together was the Pecola section and the Persephone section, right? I didn't have all the poems. I didn't even know what the poems were going to say, but I knew I wanted to write about the two of them in conversation about their lives. But the other parts, I wasn't writing with this book in mind. So, I mean, I guess I could say it's magic. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. I couldn't give you like a step-by-step thing about it. It just worked together. I threw them all out on the floor. They were all over the place. And they just started saying, okay, put me with this, put me with this, put me with this. And of course, there's always the music. There's always the music.
And there's a lot of music in here. I can see in the work, especially with the May 12, 2009, the
Mhm.
spacing leaves. I could hear Etta. That spacing and on the page, I could hear Etta. I could hear where that music could just filter into this seamlessly.
Mhm.
And that is not an easy thing to do.
Wow. Yes.
Definitely not an easy thing to do. So I really, really, really enjoyed that one. You also hit on another theme, this theme of, and you opened up with it when you named all of the women, the different generations of women
In my that's my
in your
family.
family.
Yeah.
Um, Even throughout the poems, it that carries through this lineage, this
Mhm.
heritage of the characters. Um, is that a topic that you're interested in, or I mean, I'm doing my family genealogy, so yes, I'm interested in it. But a lot of people, it just sort of organically happens. But I want to know if that is a topic that you are actively pursuing.
Well, it's one of my obsessions, family and tradition, one of my obsessions, along with, history and mythology and uh, now aging. I was not even thinking about aging, 20 years ago, but I think about it now in a very real way. And love, you know, um, love is a very important theme to me and my belief in its continuity. But
Mm.
I come from a very large family, which is getting smaller and smaller by the year. And, as a child, I was always sitting near the door, listening,
Mm.
eavesdropping. I learned most of my family history eavesdropping. Back then, adults didn't speak to kids. They didn't tell you
That
things,
that's
right?
true.
So you learn most of what you know by at least I did, by overhearing and, sitting at the door or laying on the top step, while they're downstairs talking and I'm laying on that floor and I'm not supposed to be listening, but I was listening. But I didn't know that the things that I overheard would be of value or of use
Hmm.
until I started writing. And then I had a fistload of uncles who were notorious storytellers. So I learned by listening to them, I learned about the importance of sound, how words sound. So sound is very important to me and my work. I don't know. I just keep listening, waiting to hear the right word, hear how it sounds when it hits the air. And I just keep working with these poems until I like the sound of them and the rhythm of the language. I don't know if that answers your question about tradition and family, but
No, it does, because you have family members who were natural storytellers.
yep.
They had a rhythm to them when they talked. Um, it's not too dissimilar from my own upbringing. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, was a pastor of a church,
Mm,
so she preached.
mhm,
My uncles on my mother's side were fabulous storytellers.
mhm,
It's like you were there, the kind of thing. And like you, I learned a lot of those stories from just being in the room and not being in the room.
mhm,
It's as far as they were concerned. And by listening and remembering what they said. And so it does answer a lot of questions, because I do know that there are poets that they write their poetry, but they don't really have a sense of what their familial rhythm is.
mhm, mhm,
So when they read their work, it comes across sometimes a little lackluster, because they don't understand that the word on the words on the page that they've written actually do have a sound.
mhm, mhm,
And each letter of those words actually has a sound that builds that word. And you understand that, because
mhm,
that is evident throughout all of the poems that you read today. There's
mhm.
that music that you
I-
hear, that music that you hear, that music that music, be it the blues or be it, you know,
All of it.
a gospel or
R&B,
anything,
R&B.
anything, the R&B. You know,
Motown
when
was,
you did the Sly and the Family Stone, I was like,
it's-
oh yeah, okay.
music was the background of my life. So,
Right. I personally, I can't separate the two. The
correct,
words on the page are the words on the page, and the
correct,
music coming from the words on the page are just as much part of that as the written.
correct,
So I
correct.
can't, I personally can't separate the two.
Mhm. I'm with you.
Jackie, anybody out there want to ask a question? Y'all jump on in here. It's a conversation. Jump
I,
in.
I really enjoyed reading this. And the blues, and all its various shades were really underneath, you know? I was thinking about because I think you gave me a mother love at least twice. But I was thinking about I really love the way that you kind of enchant the reader into the underworld.
Mm,
All right. Can you talk a little bit about the poem Nowhere to Run?
whoa. Okay, so now you make me go look for the poem so I can remember.
Page 48.
Yep, yep, I got it. I got it. Okay. So, of course, the title comes from Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, right? Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. But I was trying to imagine, well, I lived in the Botanic Gardens, basically, right? Um, and garden and flowers and smells are very important to me. So I tried to imagine what Persephone, what her life must have been like, but also thinking about my own life in music, right? My preference for the Eddie Leverts and the Dennis Edwards over the Smokey Robinson. Everybody, loves Smokey. And the falsetto is nice, but I like music with a bottom, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I just tried to imagine what that experience must have been like. And of course, the echo from Rita Dove's Mother Love is there. I don't know that I could have written these poems about Persephone without having read that book time. And I mean, I read it to death. So I have to thank her for even helping me imagine a voice for Persephone.
Mm-hmm.
When her
Mm.
Persephone was older, I wanted to stay with the young Persephone. Her Persephone grew and aged. I wanted to stay with that child, and what that experience was like for her. And she had no way out, right? Even though she got to go visit her mom, for a few months out of the year, she still got dragged back, to spend the rest of the year with her consort, if you will, her uncle. Let us not forget that. Um,
Yeah.
and these are the perils of girlhood. These are the
Yes.
perils
Yes.
of girlhood and the precarity of their life. They're always on edge, on the verge of somebody kidnapping them, somebody doing something to them that's problematic, violent, or cruel. Um, but the flowers were the joy for me. The smell of those flowers, they lured her into that garden. She strayed. She strayed.
Right.
Friends from her mom, from what was comfortable, she strayed. And that's what we do sometimes.
Right. Right.
Danger
Right.
beckons and we heed the call sometimes. So that was a great question. Thank you for that question.
Oh, no, thank you.
Joy, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, I know you guys have talked about the blues, but I heard a lot of jazz in there, and I'm wondering what how that plays into it, how you I don't even know what the question is, honestly, but I just I'm wondering about the connection, because and partly because what we do is really present jazz and poetry. So I'm really interested in the relationship between them and the rhythms and the improvisation and that.
Well, I wish I was a musician so I could explain it musically. I can't, but I can start an answer by saying that I was introduced to John Coltrane very early. I actually saw him live,
Wow.
which not too
Ooh.
many people can say since he died, in 1967. But one of my uncles, he was a jazz fiend. And when I used to babysit for he and my aunt, I used to wait till they left, and then I'd get his records. And that's how I first heard John Coltrane. And he saw that his records were out of place, and he's like, "You've been listening to playing my music?" And I had to admit that, yeah, I was playing it. And he said, "I'm going to take you to see Coltrane," and he took me. So I
Wow.
went
Wow.
to
Nice.
the 5 spot, I think. I think it was the 5 spot. I saw him twice in that same year in 1965. And it just changed my life. You can hear music on the record, but that live,
Live. Ooh,
Yeah.
can't beat live.
and I want to say that it was his quartet, Jimmy Garrison and Elvin Jones and McCoy Tyner, but I don't want to mix times.
Mm,
I suspect that that was the quartet he played with. I mean, I was so transfixed by him that I don't even know if I saw the other guys in the band.
Mm.
I was just so transfixed by him. And once that music gets in you, there's no way out. She's just hooked.
Yeah.
Billy Dixon said, "You hooked," right? And then that's it. That's it. So, but I love all kinds of music, right? Jazz, I think, is my touchstone, but the blues, I had one uncle was a jazz fiend, another uncle was a blues fiend. So I got introduced to blues through him. And, they just didn't even pay any attention to me. I'm there listening. They didn't even know that I was taking it all in. And then I had my own music, the Motown era. So all of this is there. All of this is there. The only music that I wish I knew better is European classical music. I just don't know it as well as I know these musics, my music.
and
'Cause
you actually know it better than you think.
well, that's true because if you listen to Monk or if you listen to Charles Mingus, you
Yeah, you're hearing it because Monk's.
correct,
I think
correct,
Monk's inspiration was like Beethoven or Bach. One of them.
correct,
He used to play him
correct,
all the time.
correct.
Um, so you understand it more than you think.
Yeah, I keep thinking I have to have this training or be a musician. Uh,
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
I called myself trying to learn a piano, and I took 2 lessons, and I said, "Oh no, this shit is too hard."
Yeah. I also wanted to, I was going to ask you the question, but you answered it already about the relationship between Persephone and Pecola. And, it's really, I just finished reading or listening to Circe. I don't remember who wrote it, but just thinking about the way women are treated and the way women are degraded and
Mhm.
what women go through and how when you look at somebody you have no idea what kind of pain they've been through
Correct.
and really I could understand Bacola is such a singular character, like you feel like you know her and you just want to hold her, right? So I can really understand how she got to you. And I love that image of Toni Morrison coming, telling you her story it hasn't been totally told yet. There's more. I left room for you. I love that. But
But that's part of my writing is trying to find those spaces to get in there. But it's just like a musician, when somebody's playing a solo and they want to go to the next guy for him to get in there and they trail off and then that other musician gets in there. They're looking for their space. Or like someone who's jumping double dutch, right? Waiting for that rhythm to get in there. But you also have to know when to get out,
Right.
Yeah.
know when to get in and get out. So I'm still trying to find the space. That's all.
Well, it was great to hear you read your poems. I loved that you sang, and I can't remember the name of the poem, but It really had a different feel from when I read it.
Mm.
And with the children's nursery nursery
Oh,
rhymes or
yeah.
whatever, and it really had I had a very different experience. So I really enjoyed that as much as one can enjoy that.
Haunting.
Again, you were drawing from music and you got to sing as well, which I
You know, that was always my dream as a young,
yes.
to be a lounge singer.
You can still be a lounge singer.
Yeah, in my own lounge, right?
No, actually, I know as an acquaintance, to see her, to say hello type thing. The daughter of the people that actually owned the 5 Spot is still alive.
Whoa, whoa.
And she started singing in her 60s.
Wow. Whoa.
And she's gotten a lot better, but she started singing. And one time I went to see her, she was singing at a pizzeria in Yonkers. She had her 3-ring binder with all the lyrics in there that of all the songs that she wanted to sing, and that's how she sang through the set.
Wow.
Using her 3-ring binder so she wouldn't forget the words.
Exactly.
She doesn't do that now.
Wow.
Still singing. She's still performing in little spots here and there.
God bless
So
her.
it's not too late to
Oh,
be
yes,
a lounge singer.
These vocal flaps can't handle that. They cannot handle that. Not at all. Not at all. But I think if I were to say that, I think the vocalists, as much as I love instrumental music
Mm.
in all its forms, those vocalists really hit me.
Yes.
And, from, Billie Holiday to Sarah Vaughan to Dinah, Carmen McRae, you know, Gloria Lynn, and Etta Jones, they're sort of unheralded, but those voices, my God, the clarity,
Yeah.
those voices. Abby Lincoln, lyrically, my God, nobody can match her.
Mm-mm. Nina.
And there's 2 young women who I'm sure you know them, Cecile McLaurin Salvant.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
Samara Joy. My God, this girl is not even like 24 years old.
Did you hear Samara Joy? I was blown away. I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
who is this
I'm
child?
still trying to get into her.
Who is this
Oh,
child?
Tamara.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. I
Vaughan.
was like, whoa.
Sarah Vaughan reincarnated.
exactly.
Exactly. I was blown away. I was like, huh?
Exactly. I just couldn't believe it.
The child just stepped out of school.
And she won the Sarah Vaughan contest. That's how I first heard
Yeah.
when I was like,
And she got the Grammy for her first album.
well, she's up again.
Nominated again. Yeah.
And she's nominated again.
Yep.
I heard her with the Grammy for the first album, and I'm like,
Incredible.
wait, let me get the album. I got the album, and I literally was blown. I was like, she's not that old. Where's all of this?
She's an old soul. That's what.
Yeah, because it's like, where's all of this knowing coming from? Because you can hear it in that voice. I was like, wow.
You think it's died out, but it's
No.
alive and well in
That's
the generations behind us.
That's
It's alive and well.
And I like that she is bringing all these other singers back, right?
Yes.
Carmen McRae, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, she's bringing the Dinah Washington. I'm waiting for her to do some Dinahs. But I just love that she loves that songbook and those songs where those lyrics had story. That's what I want. I want a story. That's what I want. I crave a story.
I'm telling you, there's another contemporary woman, female singer that her name is Lettucey.
Oh, I know. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Her Lettucey sings Nina.
We saw her do that at the Apollo.
Whoa.
Because she had members of a Count Basie orchestra with her. Well, she sang. She's on one of their albums, and she's done performance with them. It was the the show was called Nina and Me. She's
Right.
so charming and so kind and such an incredible singer. And she does, it's like she's one of these people where like every time you hear her, you hear something different.
You get something different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
God, I was just like, wow, okay.
And who's the other singer you mentioned before Samara?
Cecile McLaurin
Cecile
Salvant.
McLaurin.
Salvant is
Salvant,
her last
yeah.
name.
Salvant?
Salvant, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's just amazing. She's just amazing.
I haven't heard her.
Oh my
Check
goodness.
her out.
You've seen her. She was one of the first performers to wear the oversized glasses.
Yeah. White. They were
Glass
white.
frame. They were white.
Mhm.
Mm.
Fabulous voice.
Yeah.
Fabulous. I saw her up in Connecticut at Litchfield.
Mhm.
Blew the top off the tent.
I saw her at the Jazz Standard, and then she produced an opera called Ogress at I think it was at I can't remember where it was in Manhattan. See, here's another senior moment. Can't recall the name of the place where she was.
You're supposed to make up something and make it sound like you remembered.
Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo. Oh gosh, yes. And yeah. And let's not forget the Queen, Aretha Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on, Ree.
No.
I just walked through the Alvin Ailey exhibit earlier today, and they have a sequence of Aretha Franklin singing Troubled Water. And it is just amazing to hear it in that like huge ass museum space, and it's just going all around the room. It's, really wonderful.
Well, let us honor Judith Jameson.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few times I almost broke out in tears because I was just like, wow, how could I get this ticket like 2 days after she had passed? And her spirit is in the room. If not for her, there would be no legacy.
That's correct. That's correct.
If not for her. And Ellie had two great friends, Carmen de Lavallade and Judith Jameson. Those women saved him. They really did.
Yep.
But if you get a chance, go see it. It is exquisite.
Wow. Wow. Where is it? At the Met?
At the Whitney.
At the Whitney.
And it's the entire 5th floor.
Oh, the entire 5th floor.
The entire 5th floor.
Nice.
They have video images that go the length of practically the length of the floor, the upper height of the wall, but just an incredible tribute.
Well,
but the lesson is artists happen in clusters. They don't happen by themselves. They happen in clusters.
Right.
So you'll see how he begins with Carmen, and he begins with Joffrey Holder. They're all in some play on Broadway, and out of that comes all this stuff. Wow. And I'm gonna be quiet because this is about poetry and music.
Well, fortunately, poetry is about everything. So
yeah.
Poetry is about everything.
And our lived experiences.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank everybody that came on this afternoon to hear Linda. I really want to thank you, Linda, for reading for us, because it's such a treat to hear you. And congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Got my copy.
Where can we get it? Where can we get it?
Oh, where can we get the book, Linda?
I hate to say it.
Did I order it from the press? I think I ordered it from the press, from 4-Way Books.
4-Way Books. I mean,
yeah, you can go on 4-Way Books and get it.
On whatever that Amazon thing is, it's always there.
Right.
That Amazon thing.
Yeah, Amazon thing with Jeff Bezos. I tell you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That Amazon thing. Yeah.
But I'm sure
sure it's at bookshop.org. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or even what's the bookstore down on Fulton Street now?
Green Lights.
Yeah, they may have it.
Okay.
or local book, some local bookstore should have it.
So it's good, good. So it's out there.
Yep.
I just want to let everybody know, next month on December 8th, we're going to have Abdul Ali from the Washington, Maryland area. And in January, we're going to have January 12th, we're going to have Carolyn Joyner, also from the Washington, DC area. And in February, we are going to have Cornelius Eady.
Oh my goodness.
So,
wow.
Please join us for the next 3 months. And the third in March, we're going to have a poet from the young woman who runs Furious Flower now.
Oh,
Laura Allen.
Laura Allen, yeah. She's going to be our feature.
I was down at Furious Flower.
Yeah.
It was my first time, and it was just mind-blowing, amazing.
Nice. She'll be there. And then in April, I will be doing a live poetry jazz performance in Brooklyn at the Soapbox with Christopher Dean Sullivan on bass, J.D. Parent on woodwind.
You still with him?
Oh yeah, I never give. Listen, I don't give up, Chris. No, nobody can take. No, you right there. We're gonna have J.D. Parent, and we're gonna have Michael T.A. Thompson percussion, and we're gonna have Michael Wimberly.
Wow. Wow.
So
when is that, you said?
That's going to be April 13th in Brooklyn at the Soapbox Gallery live. And we do live stream when we also do live stream when we do the live events. So if you can't make it to New York, you can still, catch it on the live stream.
Okay.
And hopefully we expect to have a good time.
You will.
You guys, the last thing you did with Robert was out of this world. Just amazing. Out of this world.
Thank you. So please, keep one breath in your minds. Check out the website. You can, on our website, we have links to how you can get to our YouTube channel where you can watch some of our past performances and readings. And, keep us in mind, and please join us going forward into 2025. And Linda, as I said, it was just wonderful to hear you read for us again, and to hear you read for us, because it's been a while.
It's been a while
since I heard you read. And your work is just, as always, it's fabulous. It really is.
Thank you.
And Joy, if you have anything to say to close us out.
No, thank you very much. It's been, this has really been a wonderful reading, and Linda will send you the video and we'll put it up on YouTube, and thank you very, very much. This was really fantastic.
Thank you, Joy.
Yeah. And
thank you
for hosting, and everybody for being here and for sharing your afternoon with us.
Ma'am, thank you.